I've been working on the false spars for the left-hand wing on the Super Cub. Now these are sheet metal fairings that go on the back of the wing attached to the rear of the wing ribs. And they're not real spars, but they close in that area in the back. And these happen to have a cove in them for the aileron to fit into, to move up and down into. And the hinges for the aileron attach to these, like this. They attach to the wing and attach to the rear spar, and then attach to these false spars with a couple of rivets. This happens to be the outboard one for the left-hand wing, the outboard aileron false spar for the left-hand wing. Now these were kind of, well, they were dirty on the inside, and then they had a lot of glue and stuff here on the outside of them. So it took a bit of scrubbing to get them scrubbed down to get them cleaned up. And they're a little bit rough. They've got some dings and dents in them. They didn't look very pretty. And once I got all the glue and everything off of them, I could see there was some pits in them, some corrosion in them. So I scrubbed them down with acid etch with Alumibrite, got them all cleaned up and everything, and then I painted them. I painted the inside of them with a white, a PPG DP48, and then on the outside I painted them with a polyfiber green primer. The polyfiber primer is supposed to be glue resistant or glue proof, so you can lay the glue up on here for gluing the fabric on and it won't pull the paint off, whereas most other paints and stuff are not solvent resistant, and when you put the glue on there, then the solvents in the glue will raise the paint and lift it, and then the fabric won't stick to it. So anyway, these things were cleaned up pretty good. They're kind of rough, but they're not bad enough to have to replace them, especially here. Well, I got all the pits and stuff cleaned out of them, and everything looks okay. They got a lot of holes in them here where things have been screwed onto them. They had, well, here, like these holes here and these holes here, where they screwed on to either the ribs or the little braces that they have between ribs that it screws into. And then there's a whole bunch of other holes on the back here, and they had strips of aluminum screwed into here over the top of the fabric when the fabric was put on. So there's holes punched in here everywhere. Well, anyway, they weren't bad enough to red tag. If it had been someplace where you could got new ones easily, I might have thought about doing that, but really they're not that bad, especially now that they're all painted up and cleaned up. But there was a little bit of wear and tear and corrosion here where these hinges attach to them. So I fabricated up some little patches, and we're in the process of riveting those on now. I was hoping I could use my hand rivet squeezer for those, and they worked okay on this lip on the bottom, but the yoke won't fit in to do the rest of those. It's not wide enough this way. I have another yoke, but it's just deeper and not wider. So anyway, that means that I have to use my air riveter here. I'm using flathead rivets, so I have a mushroom head on here to use to put on that to go on the outside of the or on the face of the rivets here, and then a bucking bar on the inside. And I've set two of them, and I boogered up both of them. I messed up both of them. One here is too close to where the tab is on the hinge, and it's going to interfere with that, so I'm going to have to drill that one out. And then the other one I put in there, and I just nailed it over. I did a bad job. Let's see if we can see that. Anyway, I did a terrible job upsetting that rivet there. It's nailed over instead of being mushroomed. So I'm going to have to drill both of those out, but this one I'm going to leave in there for the time being until I get the other rivets all the way around it, and then I can drill it out later. This one I'm going to drill out and replace it. Oh, I've got my drill motor set up with number 40 drill bit. Get better glasses on here so I can see. There we go. better. Yeah, not perfect, but better. I might drill that one out again. Well, I am just screwing this up royal. What the hell is going on here? So I'm boogering this up royally here. I gotta get my pattern down. I don't know what the hell's the problem. I guess this curved surface makes it a little harder. God damn it. Alright, so I'm messing this up terrible. Alright, I gotta reevaluate this. I'm not doing a very good job with these for some reason. I think the rivets might be a little bit too long, and they're the shortest one I got. Well, that worked good. Much better. Oh yeah. Yeah, the rivets were just too long. That's better. These rivets that I was setting up to use have a smaller diameter head on them for using in nut plates. Well, I had them countersunk for these rivets, and these rivets have a bigger head, so I have to open the countersinks up a little bit on them. Oh, now I got three rivets that I got to drill out that I messed up on. Alright, I did a really crappy job on that one, but if I try to do anything else to it, it's just going to make it worse. I should have made up a piece ahead of time and did some practice stuff on it, but too arrogant, I guess. I thought I had it set. I've done this many times before, but I haven't done these flathead rivets for a while. Anyway, that's together. Now I can put this one together with the number 4 rivets. Hopefully I can do a better job with that. But first I got to go down and get it's almost quit bleeding. See, I got to go down and get a Band-Aid so I can get the blood off of keep the blood off of everything. Trouble I went through to stop the corrosion on this. I didn't want to leave blood on there to add more to it. Drilled the end of my finger when I was drilling out one of those rivets. So now I got to get number 4 rivets. There's number 4, those are number 5s. Much better. Much better. Alright, let's get this crap out of the way here so I'm not scratching everything all up. Alright, perfect. That makes me feel a little bit better. So this side only gets 1 rivet in it. Well, this is probably one of those instances of overkill. Taking paint and painting these rivet heads and the scratches that I put on there, putting the rivets in. Nobody will ever see this. This is all going to be covered up with fabric and finish paint, but I'll see it between now and the time I get it covered up. I have to look at it, so I'll go ahead and cover these up, make them look a little better. Maybe it'll look better, I don't know. Yeah. Alright, let's try it again. Let's see how bad we screw up this time. Still need to put a little more countersink in these. Oh, there it is. These little rivets disappear against the background pretty easy. So this is the inner aileron false spar, and this would be, see the dent in it right here where the aileron cable goes up here to the bell crank on the aileron. So this would be the center hinge point right here. And I lost that. There it is. Little rivet again. Alright, that one's done. Riveted on there anyway. I'm not going to put the hinge on there until I get the one on the other end riveted on, because it makes it too awkward to move around. Flop it over and do this end. Hey, another good one. Alright, don't get cocky. Those are done, and I gotta say, those look pretty damn good. They're better than the factory rivets or the rivets that I drilled out of there when I took this thing apart. That's for doggone sure. Oh, I gotta get this other one on this end now too, don't I? Okay, I'm not done yet, so I still got plenty of chance to screw up. Oh yeah, that looks a lot better. That looks good. Alright, I got to draw that one in just a little bit. That one was going in hard. So, alright, that worked. Let's see if I can get on it straight. Thing twisted around there a little bit. Okay, that's good. Okay, I did it. I didn't screw up too bad. Actually, they look pretty darn good. Okay, I went from those small-headed rivets to a standard size rivet because the small-headed ones, the shortest ones I had, were too long, and I was nailing them over. So I went to a short rivet. The first one that I did, I riveted it down with a hand riveter with those small head rivets, so I had it already attached, and they worked okay with a hand riveter. But when I went and started putting them in the face down here using the air riveter, they didn't work very well. So when I switched over to these regular sized flathead rivets, I had to enlarge the countersink. Well, that was going down and enlarging the holes in the skin underneath. So that made the holes too big for the rivet size. I didn't recognize that when I did the second flap hinge over here on this inboard spar, false spar, but I figured it out, and so on this one I went ahead and increased the countersink on this plate before I put it up there, and that made all the difference in the world in holding in those screws holding in, or in those rivets holding in there, and getting good rivet heads, buck heads and stuff on it. Oh, that was the problem. Like I said, the countersink was just going in too deep and spoiling the holes. Well, I'm going to go ahead and let this one flash off before I try painting it. I did the other one. I'll look and see how it looks now, but the paint wasn't going on there too good, so I don't know whether I didn't let the flash off long enough, the prep sol, or whether the paint was still too cold, because I had the paint in the refrigerator overnight and chill it off to keep it from cooking off so fast. Anyway, I'll set this one aside now and go ahead and do that flap false spar. Well, that's good. On the flap false spar here, I can use the hand riveter, the hand squeezer, to do the bottom row and the next row up. The top row I'm going to have to use the air, is I've got this longer yoke, deeper yoke, but it still doesn't go quite far enough in there to do that next row up. And of course, it can't go from that side. So this yoke, I could change it out, but this yoke will work fine for that as far as I need to go. So I'm going to go ahead and increase the size of those countersinks. Is this one, I've got it set up for this to go on the inside instead of the outside, so that's not going to be countersunk. So anyway, that one is done. Now this one I have to put up on the ribs and set it up, put the hinge in there, and then figure out where the bracket goes on the hinge. So that one's a little different. Maybe I'll go ahead and touch up those rivets anyway, but it's going to have some work done on it. Get the fingerprints off of it so there's no evidence that I touched it.